concentrate on getting down there and looking at some film and get with it.
That was better than the sprained nut answer.
Hello.
Jerry?
Tell him hello.
There he is, the birthday boy himself, Jerry Jones. Earlier this week with Sean and RJ. We're just over 2.5 hours to kickoff. And hey, listen, Broadus, this is a hot Sunday afternoon with the sun shining down.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea. This is where you're trying to find little ways to win in the margins versus a team that is much better than you today. And I thought it was a brilliant idea, and him just shooting you down like that, man. He said, get back in the film room, Broadus.
Jake and Chris told you in the pregame show that Goff is not a good quarterback when he has to play outdoors. Numbers are different. The splits are different. I was trying to make the team, and we're wearing blue today too, so maybe that's why I didn't want to open the roof.
Oh yeah, that's
Cowboys
right.
wearing blue today, and the Lions will be in all white.
Those Lions all white uniforms are pretty sweet,
pretty sharp. But I was just trying to help out. I mean, hey, the last time Jerry listened to me was 2005, and then he said enough. I've had enough of you, and he moved on. So.
I thought that was pretty sound advice from you, though, man. If there was ever a time to open that roof, it would be today, where it's pretty toasty. You have Detroit in town, and you mentioned Jared Goff. He's an interesting quarterback because he's obviously really, really good. He's in that similar tier of where Dak is. But his splits are interesting. He's much more of an indoor quarterback than an outdoor quarterback, as you mentioned. He's also one of these guys, and pretty much every quarterback is worse when under pressure. But some guys they don't drop.
His
precipitously.
splits are huge.
His splits are huge.
Yeah.
Not under pressure, he's a top 5 quarterback. Under pressure, he's a bottom 5 quarterback.
Yeah. He's Joe Montana. He's Joe Montana with no pressure, and he's Drew Henson with pressure.
Unbelievable.
That's
those are the two different types of quarterbacks that you get with one Jared Goff.
That's the chasm, right?
And that'll be interesting to see if they can get any pressure on him today. That's why when I gave you my headline for what this game is, of course it was a bit wordy, but in there I had, this is a Mike Zimmer dial it up game, man.
Yeah.
From the sideline, you got to find a way to help the 11 dudes on the field that really should only be, of the 11 that he has on the field, only about 5 or 6 of them should be. But based on the injuries, that's what he has to work with, and getting pressure on Goff is huge. It obviously starts with stopping their run because they can run on you so well, and then it's the play-action pass game, and you just can't slow anything down. But if on first and second down they can find a way to slow down the rushing attack the way they have the last 2 weeks, then, man, you've got to be bringing all sorts of different blitzes and confusing Goff there and getting that pressure on him.
Well, I really like, you were talking about the wordy headline you gave, but I think you got it nailed there. If you really, this game really, to me, boils down to Dak Prescott and Mike McCarthy. Those two have to be better than Ben Johnson and Goff today. That's where this game is going to. This is a game for the Cowboys. I don't believe you can punt in this game. I think both teams are going to, be able to attack on offense. I think Mike McCarthy, he's got to be in his bag today, calling plays. You can't get bogged down. Be nice to have a couple of those. Last week against the Steelers, you had a couple of 15-play drives that worked out for touchdowns and stuff. So he's going to have to try and do his best to find the balance. I know it's, we talk about throwing the ball more if he can block Hutchinson, which is a tall task, but, get that done, and, you can make some plays. So, it really does come down to how well Dallas can move the ball. And then when they get in the red zone, how are they able to finish? Brandon Aubrey, great. Kicking field goals, great.
Not today.
Not kicking field goals today, not good. So, I mean, it's unless it's the game-winning field goal,
right?
Then it's good. But this is a tough task. Your defense is depleted, and to the point. And these guys will play hard. There's no question. Dallas, they will get great effort, but you're going up against an offense that's got a lot of weapons. The offensive line is a weapon. The tight end is a weapon. The skill receiver on the run after catch is a weapon. And your quarterback on play action is a weapon too. So lot that you're going to have to deal with defensively. and the offense can't afford to have any turnovers or miscues or give Detroit any short field opportunities.
All right, we're under 2.5 hours to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
All right, we go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt coming up here in a few minutes, but right now it's time for today's player profile. It's the three-time Hall of Famer Chris Arnold standing by with Cowboys tight end 1, Jake Ferguson.
Talk with Jake Ferguson. How you doing, Jake?
Good. How you doing?
Looking forward to these Lions again?
You know it. Come on.
All right. Let me cut to the chase. I was thinking about this the other day. You remind me of a former Cowboys tight end. His name is Dan Campbell. Anybody ever tell you that?
I haven't heard that one, but that's interesting. Interesting comparison right there.
I'll tell you something. I was thinking about that because on the field, I mean, you're a hell of a nice guy, but at the same time, don't mess with you. You kind of lead by example, and you got your quarterbacks back.
For sure. I think exactly that. When I'm out there, in between the lines, it is not buddy, and it's, protect the guys with me, and it's the guys in this locker room who I'm worried about, and that's the one that I'm worried about. And then, you said it best, off the field. What do I got to be mad about? I'm living a great life, so.
That's Dan Campbell. And by the way, I also realized that your grandpa was coach, right? Dan Campbell do you ever think about coaching later on?
No, I do not ever.
You said that's not going to be it?
No, that ain't me. No,
that's the difference, right?
Yeah, that's, maybe like a youth coach, maybe my kids or something like that, but no, never high level or anything like that.
Right. Last year when you guys played the Lions, and the Lions feel like they got some unfinished business going to the Super Bowl, but they also feel like they're kind of mad at the referees because they thought the game ended controversially. Do you think about that as far as they may be ultra-inspired?
Yeah, sure. That might fuel you a little bit more. It's never easy losing. It's never a good feeling. Sometimes that does fuel you into the next season or the next game or whatever it may be. But we're treating this like it's we're 0-0. We're trying to be 1-0, and I think that's where we grab our strength and we just prepare, and get ready.
Last couple of questions. Seems like the offense is getting things together, like kind of ramping it up a little bit. The running game is getting more on point with Rico. Can you talk about how you guys seem to be moving up a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it starts with those big guys up front. It starts with the veterans, Zach, and then also those young guys coming in. I think we can't count out Bass coming in at guard. Big T. Guyton. T. Smooth. We're still young. We're still young guys. This is our third season. Some people have been like, oh, they've been playing for a long time. We're in our third year. You know what I mean? We're not even full vetted yet. So we're a young team, and credit to those guys up front for pulling through, moving guys, and people getting thrown in different spots and making it work.
Usually I ask you, what's your routine going into a game? You got an afternoon game this time, but I'm going to switch a little bit. How did you guys kill time on that rain delay? That was the craziest rain delay ever. What were y'all doing in the locker room?
We did a couple. We were dancing a little bit. We a bunch of music. I was giving some Game of Thrones quotes out there. Trying to stay loose. Trying to. What could we tie this together? What is this like? What is this delay like? And we came down to the long night in Game of Thrones. This is the long night. We're not canceling. We could get home at 7 a.m. and we did. My girl texted me good morning before I even pulled in my driveway. So it was a long night for sure, and I think that one helped a little bit.
Well, good luck this afternoon in a situation at AT&T Stadium where it'll never be a rain delay. Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Chris Arnold. Thank you, Jake Ferguson. The doors have officially opened here at AT&T Stadium. Cowboys fans have infiltrated the building, and they look to come out of here with the first victory of the season. Happy birthday, Jerry Jones. Happy birthday, Will McClay. The only thing on their wish list is a victory today versus the Lions, and Jake Ferguson can go a long way in helping this offense get going here. What have you seen from Jake Ferguson this season, Broadus, and how much of a focal point can he be today versus that Lions defense?
Well, Jake has done a really, really nice job, with the way that he's played. He is such a when you watch him play, his ability, his ability to make those tight window catches. Sometimes it's contested balls. He's really good at extending. He's got toughness. He will take a hit when necessary to make a reception. So you have to just be, throwing the ball his direction is never ever a bad thing. I mean, he's going to come down with balls. He's going to run those seam routes. He's going to be down in the red zone. When they run the waggles, the boots, he's going to find ways to kind of get himself separated and then get him the ball. And then it's that run after catch. He's going to jump over somebody. I mean, he's always trying to do things to advance the ball. And I'm just super impressed with the way that he has been able to play. Now, in this game, it's going to be a little bit different. We'll see what happens with their, the Lions are probably going to play a lot of their base front and base defense. That's something they do well over 50% of the time. And they do it because they have a secondary that's got interchangeable parts when it comes to coverage. So they don't have to bring on extra defensive backs. They got a guy like Brian Branch, number 32, who's a safety who can play down. He can play outside.
He was their nickel last year.
Yeah, he could play. Yeah, he could play down. He could play in the slot. He could take your tight end. I could see how that the Lions say, listen, we're not going to let CeeDee Lamb beat us in this game.
Right.
You could take Kirby Joseph, the other safety, put him over the top, shade some areas, with him, and then take him with two different guys, and with Lamb, and then take Branch and put him on Ferguson and just take him out of the game. So, or try to take him out of the game because Branch can cover receivers and he's physical enough to play against a bigger bodied tight end guy. So
all around beast.
Yeah, this is a difficult matchup. So, how they get their guys, the Cowboys get their guys open today will be a lot about, the guys like Lamb and Ferguson and others, and trying to kind of move them around and give them a running start.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because versus a defense like this that plays so much man coverage, and the Cowboys have had issues with their receivers creating separation this season. Other than CeeDee Lamb, you don't have anybody that you just feel like is going to win a matchup straight up. So how are the coaches helping guys get open?
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting from Next Gen saying that the Cowboys have the most dropbacks from the spread than any team in the league. It's just Dak getting shotgun, everybody spread out, Dak survey the landscape and try and make a play here. But when you got a defense that's playing all that man, you want to, and the Cowboys in the drop back spread formation stuff, they're only 21st in success rate on those plays. It's not like they're lighting it up that way because their guys can't really get open. How are you helping your players get open versus man coverage? It needs to be probably more condensed. You need more bunches. You need more rub routes, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully today we'll see McCarthy and company deploy that. Let's go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt. We're live here at AT&T Stadium getting you set for a Week 6 kickoff, looking for that first home victory of the season. Cowboys and Lions, 2 hours and 20 minutes to kick off, and we're back with Bobby next year on The Fan.
Is your workplace on top of its game? For over 100 years, Pollock Aurora
1-800-682-LAW-STAR.
All right, 2 hours and 15 minutes to a Cowboy kickoff. Let's go inside the Star with our Cowboys insider Bobby Belt live here in the Miller Lite West Plaza of AT&T Stadium. Bob, happy game day, sir. Have you already texted a happy birthday to Jerry and Will? Did you group message it or did you make it individual?
No. I have not sent the group text yet. I know that Brian's got the direct pipeline, and so I wait to send my salutations on through Brian. So I was going to come up here, record a video message so that Brian could then send it over to the two of them.
Yeah, it was crazy when I walked up to the broadcast position here at the Miller Lite West Plaza. I saw Broadus was actually FaceTiming his happy birthday messages to Will and Jerry.
Was Jerry still telling you to get on the film?
Yeah, but I told him I watched the film this week, and I was on it, and but I wanted to wish him a happy birthday.
Did you say, boy, the Cowboys got to make sure, you guys got to make sure that your special teams unit is covering this Terry Fair.
Yeah.
He'll run some kicks back on you.
Well, there's a lot of Honolulu blue floating around the Miller Lite West
is.
Plaza today here, Bobby. Are we thinking this is what type of crowd are we getting today?
I'm seeing a lot of it. I got to say, though, I still think this is lighter than the Saints crowd.
Saints crowd was wild.
And I don't know that it's more – I don't know yet that it's more than Baltimore. So, I mean, Detroit, I know last year or a couple of years ago, they developed a big reputation for being a big-time traveling fan base. They were going everywhere a couple of years ago. And so it doesn't surprise me that they would travel well out here to this one. As people have pointed out before, and it's a fair point, like, look, you want to hold your home turf and make sure that you're securing – what do you say, Brian? 85% plus probably of your crowd is what you want.
Yeah.
So I understand all that, but the reality is they are a destination team. So if you want to go visit your team, just like Wolchuk wanting to go to the game last week, Pittsburgh. It was like, it's not even a question. I'm going to Pittsburgh. Doesn't matter how expensive it is. There's a lot of people.
It's a hard ticket to get.
Dallas.
Pittsburgh's a hard ticket to get.
Yep.
And there's several places around the league that are that way, and. But yeah, there's you figure the fans came though. A lot of them came for Week 17 last year, so pretty recent if you're a Lions fan making your trip. But here's the opportunity though. Well, I think you had an opportunity in Week 17, but Bobby, are you the better team today? With all the injuries and stuff like that, not the Cowboys. Or the Lions.
The
Lions are better team today.
You're the better team today if you're the Lions. The thing is that. It's the common phrase, the common refrain, styles make fights.
Yeah.
And there are things stylistically that Dallas does really well that can be difficult for Detroit. It's just a matter of, are the things that they do, are those going to stress you even more? I think we are going to see points put up today. I know we anticipated that last year was a little bit more lower scoring.
Right.
But CeeDee Lamb played one of the best games of his career last year. And I think that Dallas...
If we could bring Cam Sutton back into the mix, that'd be
great.
Ideal.
If I could bring Cam Sutton back, that'd be great. Now, I will
Would that be your one genie wish? You get one genie wish for the game, just bring me Cam Sutton and watch CeeDee Lamb go for 200 plus?
If I get one genie wish for life, it might be bring Cam Sutton back for this game. That's how beneficial it was. Look, I think that if there's an area where I'm confident, you don't have Cam Sutton this week, but what you do have is a Lions secondary and a Lions defensive coaching philosophy that says we're going to play more man than just about anybody else in the NFL. We're going to play about as much man as you're going to see this season, and we're going to kind of almost in the same way that Arthur Smith last week stubbornly says, I'm running the ball, damn it. You've got Aaron Glenn who says, I want to play man coverage, and I want to do those things. And that is, CeeDee Lamb is arguably the best receiver in the NFL against man coverage. And so if they're going to play a lot of that and put him out there on that island against certain guys, even if they're bracketing him, even if they're trying to take him away with Kirby Joseph or some of these other guys, then I still feel confident that CeeDee Lamb's going to be able to have a big day today.
Okay, so this is the way I've described it heading into this one here, Bob. Once again, a little wordy. It's a leave it all on the field, let the chips fall where they may game. This is a Mike Zimmer dial it up game. It's a fourth and go for it game for McCarthy, okay? And it's another gut check opportunity, but this time you have no margin for error. Last week, you're shooting yourself in the foot for 4 quarters on both sides of the ball. You still escape with a victory. Today, you're going to have to be precise. You can't give up scoring opportunities as you approach the red zone. And I'm thinking, man, 4th and 5, we're going for it.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're 0 for 3 in the red zone with a minute left in the fourth quarter like you were last week, you're probably losing this game today by a significant margin.
Sure.
I do think that last week there was a lot that was really encouraging about the way Dallas moved the ball against a pretty good Steelers defense, and it gave me some confidence that they were going to continue to be able to do that today. I'll say the fact that they played as steady as they did. I know Pittsburgh's not like world beaters running the ball, but they wanted to do it, and you've struggled to stop it, and you played really well. Now, you're missing Eric Kendricks today. That one's going to hurt you in those efforts to stop the run a little bit. But, look, if we know anything about Detroit, they're going to take a look at all the different ways that they can stress this team with the run, and they're going to try and take advantage of it. And odds are they're probably going to have success with it. You just have to make sure that you slow it down a little bit, because I don't think you're going to stop them running the football today. You just got to slow it down some.
Yeah, you can't have a situation much like with the Saints and the Ravens and others where it was 5 straight possessions of scores.
Yeah.
Whether touchdown, field goals. I mean, it was, you're going to have to get some stops.
Yeah,
you're going to have to. And that's, everybody's saying, oh, broadest captain obvious, of course. But I think it's even more, for every stop you get, you're giving your offense a chance to go out against a Detroit defense that could give up some plays.
Yeah, look, I mean, the Detroit defense has some good players on
it.
They do. There are some good individual players on it. They haven't played great as a unit yet,
no.
I don't think, and I think you can take advantage of some things. Look, Aiden Hutchinson's fantastic. That's about all the pass rush they consistently have right now, though.
Yeah.
I think Alex Anzalone is a good player. Jack Campbell's a good player. Kirby Joseph has shown an aggressive mindset and, the ability to play center field pretty well. But, I mean, there's definitely things that you can take advantage of, I think, against their secondary. I think, you should be able to, as long as you don't just allow Aiden Hutchinson to beat you, you should be able to block things up for Dak to try and take advantage of some things down the field. So, to me, this is about trying to take advantage of some of these things that you're potentially going to get in man coverage in the passing game on offense. And then on the defensive side of the ball, just holding it together and getting stops where you can. This is not going to be a game where, you're going to hold them scoreless, or you're going to force them into 3 field goals and they're not going to score a touchdown. Detroit's going to put points on the board today. So you've just got to be prepared to go out there, maybe slow the game down a little bit, even with your passing attack. They've at times, a couple times recently, Brian, the Tampa Bay opener a couple years ago. Remember when they used the short passing game as a replacement for their run? Some similar stuff like that you've seen at times the last couple weeks. If you're able to do that and extend some drives and take some time off the clock, slow the game down a little bit, I think that could help you too.
Inside the Star with Bobby Belt here on your pregame show, getting you set for kickoff at AT&T Stadium. From what you saw last week, what do you expect to carry over today? Tolbert, Turpin in the passing game. I mean, that gives you confidence there as guys that can play second and third fiddle to CeeDee Lamb, or is it the Rico and the rushing attack that started to get moving a little bit?
Man, I think those two right there, though, Rico and Tolbert, that was such big time from them last week and so crucial in terms of Dowdle showed you, like, hey, I can be one of these just get you the tough yards, demoralizing carries for the defense, extend drives. That was encouraging to see. I think Tolbert, the way, especially early on, I thought in that game Tolbert didn't play very well. He wasn't getting a lot of separation early. But, man, he showed you're starting to see South Alabama Tolbert. And the guy that we saw on tape at South Alabama, and the guy with confidence and swagger and toughness. And, man,
Dak trusts him.
Yeah, he does. He trusts him a great deal. And it took time to get there, and it's taken time for, Tolbert to get there in terms of with his skill set. But you're seeing him play more to that level that I think people expected him to. It's just been a slower burn. It's been a slower build-up to getting him there. But, man, I thought last week he was fantastic for you. That catch he made on 4th down, I don't think he makes that catch the last 2 years, just because he's had trouble with physicality and, getting his head a little bit at times. And I think there's real confidence there. And I don't know if you guys got a chance to play it last week on the post-game show, since I know it was a very short post-game show with the rain delay.
It moved quickly.
But,
Sorry
man,
about that, Mikey.
Man, when you listen to Tolbert's media availability end, then Zach Martin just yelled out, like, there we go, JT, and the whole locker room just erupted at the end of his media availability, like chanting his name and stuff. They're pulling for him. And I think everybody in that locker room is excited to see the way that he's grown and come along and settled into something where there was a question at one point. Similarly, there was a question near the end of Michael Gallup's career where people felt kind of like in this building, I think, all right, is this negativity, is this headspace going to eat him up? Is it going to take him over and take him out of his game, or is he going to break out of it? Gallup a little bit, ended up, I think it just kind of took his career away, whereas with Tolbert, I think they were teetering on that brink, and they're saying, oh, no, he's coming out the other side, he sees light now, and now we've got a hardened player, somebody who went through this and is tough and is ready for these moments now.
What do you expect? How do you expect they handle Aiden Hutchinson in this game? Because to me, I worry a little bit about Dallas being cavalier and just saying, we're going to block him with guys. We're just going to block him tackle with tackle and work that route.
Man, if you do that, I'd be pretty frustrated because to me that's the only legitimate threat it feels like they have, rushing the passer.
Yeah.
If you are one-on-one against some of the other guys that they have on this defensive line and they beat you, at that point you're just going to have to say, all right, sorry, tough. But if you get beat one-on-one with Aiden Hutchinson, to me that's a little bit of negligence. Give your guys some help. Chips, bring some guys in line.
Spacing. He's going to line up really wide out there anyway.
Yeah. I mean, do whatever you can to try and give some help to your tackles there, because if you just expect, hey, we're going to get this one-on-one, I mean, Aiden Hutchinson.
There are going to be some problems.
Yeah, he's right up there as in the conversation of Defensive Player of the Year. He wrecks shop, and so I wouldn't want to just leave anybody on an island with him, and I would hope the Cowboys aren't going to do that. I don't expect that they'll just say, hey, mano a mano, go out there and do your best against Aiden Hutchinson.
All right, Bob, prediction?
I got Detroit in this one, 31-28. I do think that Lions take this one, but if Dallas can get in an extra stop or two, then I think that they have a legitimate shot to win this game because they will be able to throw the ball on them, I think, today. I think Dak will have a good game today.
I love it. That's a pretty exciting game that you're predicting right there. We might be talking about moral victories in the post-game show if it's 31-28. Are you kidding me? Bob, you're a beast. Thanks for the time, homie.
I love you all.
Love you more. There he goes, Bobby Belt. Hey, good news. The creators of Buffalo Casino Games bring you Cowboys-themed casino games. That's right. Kick off with America's team on and off the reels with Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you have a gambling problem? Please contact 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over. All right, we're just over 2 hours to kick off Week 6 here at AT&T Stadium. We'll break it down with Babe Laufenberg next right here on The Fan.
Whether you're getting ready to purchase a home, setting up a college fund for your kids, or preparing for retirement, you're working hard to live a life you love. And you deserve...
Jack Links, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Under 2 hours to kick off Cowboys-Lions Week 6 here at AT&T Stadium. Great to have you in the official pregame show of America's team. We go behind enemy lines with the voice of the Lions, Dan Miller, here in a few minutes. But right now we go inside of AT&T Stadium and welcome in our good buddy Babe Laufenberg, ladies and gentlemen. Babe, happy Sunday, man. Did you send out a nice birthday wishes to Will McClay and Jerry Jones yet?
Yeah, how about that? I have not, but as you guys mentioned earlier, the birthday wish or the birthday present will come about 3 hours after they kick it off today, right?
Hopefully so. That's the plan. What do they need to do here today because this is the Lions team off a bye. They're well rested and they still have a bad taste in their mouth from last season.
Yeah, it's a tall order today for this Cowboys team. And you know what's interesting, guys? I went and looked at last year's Cowboys Detroit game, and I forgot so many things that happened in that game. One of them being CeeDee Lamb fumbling at the 1 yard line. He's trying to reach the ball out, and it becomes a touchback and basically a turnover there. I'm looking at the last drive by Detroit, right before they had the 2-minute fiasco and they scored the touchdown. That last drive, they're going after Jared Goff with their front four, right, trying to get to him. 2-minute deal. It's Micah Parsons, it's DeMarcus Lawrence, it's Sam Williams, and it's Dorrance Armstrong. None of those guys will be playing today.
Nope. Yeah.
So it's a tall order. Again, Cowboys going up against a very good Lions offense without your best pass rusher, your best run defender, and your leading tackler. Not the way they want to head into this thing.
Babe, when you get a situation, and the Lions are really, really big on this, of playing their base defense against your 11 personnel, your 12 personnel, they just will match you that way. Is there any advantage for the Cowboys of a team that does play that much base and are not really willing to get out of it?
I think a big part of that, Brian, and I know you've looked at the tape, is they'll play a lot more cover two with the two safeties deep, and they try to handle that run with 7 guys. And the Giants did that against Dallas. If they don't think you can run the ball and we can play your run with just 7 guys and not having to drop another guy in, you can sit there, to me, and play that base defense like they do. Now, their corners, both new. One's a rookie, one they traded for. They had trouble in pass defense last year. They're having a little trouble in pass defense this year.
Sure.
So I'm not quite sure, guys, if they go with those 2 deep safeties and play with the run with 7 because they're trying to cover up for the corners a little bit more, or if they just feel like, hey, our front 7 can handle the run. We don't need an 8th guy in there.
I mean, when you look at this Detroit offense, Babe, I mean, my goodness, where do you even begin to try and figure out how to stop them? They're so unique with the way they're not a one-trick pony by any stretch. They can run it a million different ways. They got all sorts of different players. Like if you're Mike Zimmer right now, how are you trying to get a grasp of this thing?
If you're Mike Zimmer right now, you wish you were back on your ranch or your farm in Kentucky and you'd never taken this job, right? Because it's like, okay, wait a minute, I'm supposed to stop this offense with a depleted defense. Okay, good. Detroit throws, I think, as many problems at you as maybe any team in the NFL. Now, Jared Goff is not Patrick Mahomes. Okay, but they've got a great tight end, Sam Laporta. They got a great receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got 2 outstanding running backs, one of who they just extended on his contract. And Goff, if you give him time, he can really throw it. Now, I always hate it when they say, hey, if you pressure this guy, whoever that guy is, right, at quarterback, it's like, this guy has a little trouble with pressure up the middle. Well, they all do. Tom Brady did. Peyton Manning did. But Goff, I think more than anyone, if you give him time in the pocket, he can turn it into a 7-on-7 game. He can tear you up. And I won't go into all the Pro Football Focus and next-gen stats numbers, but when he's under pressure, he's right at the bottom of the list in terms of quarterback rating. When he's protected, he's right at the top. Interestingly enough, Dak Prescott, just the reverse. His 4 interceptions have come versus zone defense when he's had protection. He just hasn't seen it. You blitz Dak, and he's got one of the highest passer ratings in the NFL. So they're two different quarterbacks from that way. Now, here's the problem. Easy for me to say you pressure Goff and he's not the same guy. Who are you going to pressure him with? You do not have a real pass rusher in this group. With D-Law out, now you got Nealand out. Again, Sam Williams out since training camp. It's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get pressure on Jared Goff.
Babe, I don't know if this is actually going to happen in this game, but the way that Dan Campbell manages his game is kind of unconventional.
Crazy, by the way.
Yeah, it's unconventional for sure.
Yeah.
Does he draw Mike McCarthy into that fight as well, thinking like, I can't really afford to punt in this game with my defense, the condition of my defense?
Yeah, it's funny. I always look at those games, and we all think, right, going in, it's either going to be a low-scoring game, two great defenses, or it's going to be a high-scoring game. And then they kick it off, and the game you thought was going to be low-scoring is suddenly 27-20 at the half. And the game you thought is going to be high-scoring goes the other way. So I always feel like you got to let the game play out. You got to let the game that's presented to you that day play out. So I don't think you can get into that thought of, well, it's 4th and 4, we're at our own 40, but if we give the ball back to Detroit, they're going to score every possession. I think you got to, again, let the game play out. Don't go in with the preconceived notion that we're not going to be able to keep up with this team. I will say this. Excuse me. Got a little bit of a cold working.
Uh-oh.
They beat Pittsburgh, right, last week with 20 points.
Yep.
They beat the Giants the week before with 20 points. The Cowboys did. 20 points ain't going to do it today.
No, not at all. Okay, babe, I know you love to talk about officials. John Hussey's my guy today. Okay?
Yes.
John Hussey he's officiated 4 games, but he's near the bottom of the list. Him and Carl Sheffers are the 2 least penalized guys. Does that favor the Cowboys today, or maybe the Lions, or are both teams going to benefit and let this thing play?
Well, I think it's funny because I always deal in, as I know you do, with crews, right? Everybody thinks, oh, John Hussey calls a lot of penalties. Well, he's got 6 other officials back there that come up to him and say, hey, I've got pass interference 31. I got defensive holding 28, whatever it is. But if they let him play on the outside, that's Detroit's game. Detroit loves to get aggressive with their corners. Aaron Glenn talked about it this past week. Aaron Glenn, 13, 14-year corner in the NFL himself, defensive coordinator now for Detroit. He talked about the fact that we're gonna get some penalties because we're gonna be aggressive. Now, if they let them play like you say on the outside, it could be a long day for the Dallas receivers. We saw that, I thought, in the Baltimore game. I thought in the Baltimore game, they just didn't call anything on the outside. A lot of grabbing, holding, pushing. They had a big corner in Marlon Humphrey, and if they're going to let them get physical with the Dallas receivers, it could be a long day for the Cowboys offense.
Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Yeah, I mean, Tolbert and Turpin stepped up nicely last week. All the physicality that the Lions bring defensively, they want to play the man, the bump and run. Like, how can Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer offensively help out his guys a little bit so that Tolbert and Turpin can pick up where they left off last week?
Well, it's funny, too, because I know you talked about Aiden Hutchinson. That's a guy. Here's a bad thing. They played 4 games. They had a bye last week. Aiden Hutchinson still leads the NFL in sacks. He's got 6.5. He's a monster. They dealt with it last week, obviously, with T.J. Watt. Hutchinson, they move around. Watt, you can always find him for the most part on the right side of that Cowboys offense. Really, Hutchinson plays to the left side of the offense, but they do move him around a little bit. But to me, the main thing, you got to find out where 97 is and figure out a way to block him on every play. That, to me, is going to be the key. He's one of those guys that you can't let take over the game, and he's one of those guys, if you want to single him up or block him with a tight end and certain protections, he will take over the game.
With no Kendricks today, babe, I mean, how difficult is that? And from a quarterback's perspective, you get to the line of scrimmage and you know that the quarterback of the defense is not a guy who's used to being in that role. How much more confident does that make you as a quarterback there at the line of scrimmage?
Yeah, I don't know if it makes you more confident, as a quarterback, but I think certainly as a play caller, Ben Johnson is their guy, the offensive coordinator for Detroit. You're not going to have to deal with that inside. Damone Clark has played 17 snaps of defense in the last 3 weeks. So clearly they do not want to put him out there, the Cowboys, and he'll be in there starting today. that's going to be an issue, especially with this run game. And to your point, the green dot, the guy who calls out the defense, which is Kendricks, that's going to hurt him a little bit. I mean, obviously he's been the guy that's been in Mike Zimmer defense for all but 1 year of his 9 years in the NFL. So he knows the checks, he knows how to get people lined up, and that's going to hurt him. And it's one of those overlooked things in my mind. The stat sheet always isn't going to tell the story for Eric Kendricks.
Right.
Because of all he does in terms of getting the front seven lined up, diagnosing plays, calling out things when the play, before the snap. That's a huge part of it.
It's Babe Laufenberg with us here on The Fan. Now, when it comes to their skill guys offensively, Babe, if you could erase one from the game, and that's part of the problem with Detroit is you take out one of their studs, it really doesn't matter because they got 5 other guys that can get you. But is it all about just stopping Gibbs and Montgomery and then the rest take care of itself?
Yeah, you stop them, and then you've got their passing game to contend with. It's interesting because Jamison Williams, first-round pick 2 years ago, won't get into all his stuff, but he's averaging 22 yards a catch, so he is their big play guy. Amon St. Brown, he has caught 27 balls. He's their leading receiver, but he's only averaging 9.3 a catch, so he's really not the big play guy. And then you got Laporta, who's a touchdown maker. Matter of fact, last year, Laporta had 10 receiving touchdowns. He's only the 3rd rookie in NFL history to have 10 receiving touchdowns. The other 2 were Mike Ditka. Don't ask me how that happened in 1961.
Wow.
When you're throwing the ball about 10 times a game.
Billy Wade was spinning it that day.
He had 12, and he averaged 19.2 a catch. Yeah. That's the crazy part. Anyway, and then Rob Gronkowski, who we would say, that makes sense. But, and they hit you with everything. 2 good wide receivers. They got a speed wide receiver. They got the tight end. They got 2 great backs. It's a tall order today. It is.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Babe, we appreciate the time as always. Thank you so much, and enjoy the game.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Babe Laufenberg. Today's game between the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. All right, we continue here on the official pregame party, getting you set for Cowboys and Lions Week 6. Let's get that first home dub of the season, man. Let's get that first home dub of the season. No better time than on Jerry Jones's and Will McClay's birthday. Let's get it done for him. All right, an hour and 45 minutes to kick off. Dan Miller, voice of the Lions. Let's go behind enemy lines. He joins us next right here on The Fan.
And we're going to overtime.
Erica, how much have I spent on concessions?
their own trails. What's your Maverick factor? Find yours at UTA.
Lions have it 1st and 10 at the 21 of Arizona. Goff brings them to the line. Jarrett working out of the gun. Takes the snap, he's back. 4-man rush. Goff sets, throws, got Amon-Ra. Flips it on the hook and ladder. Coming inside the 5 to the end zone. Jahmyr Gibbs. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, baby, how beautiful is that? Goff to Amon-Ra. Flips it back to 26, who takes it to the house.
Just over 90 minutes to kickoff. Let's go behind enemy lines here at AT&T Stadium. We welcome in the voice of the Lions, Dan Miller, here on The Fan. Dan, happy game day, sir. Welcome to town. How the heck you doing?
Hey, same to you guys. Always a fun trip. Love being here. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. This is a big one here. We're kind of limping into this one. We're officially a mash unit defensively here for the Cowboys. But what's the status of this Lions team? Off a bye, looking pretty healthy here. What type of, was there one or two talking points in terms of, hey, let's improve this as we head into the next stretch of the season here for the Lions?
Yeah, I think defensively they feel pretty good about some of the things that have happened, but I think they want to shore up some things they're doing in the passing game. Defensively, I think one thing that Aaron Glenn talked about was they need to close the pocket. If you go back and look at that game against Seattle, man, they were so close on the rush so many times. You know, hat tip to Geno Smith, who had a terrific game, but they've just got to get that next little bit to be able to close it and really disrupt the quarterback or get him on the ground. And they got, gashed for over 500 yards in that game. And in the secondary, as he said, they got to be a little bit better at the point of the ball arriving, because they've had a lot of penalties, in particular rookie Terrion Arnold, and he's got to learn what he can and can't do with his hands in this league. So I think that was it defensively. Offensively, I think they feel pretty good about where they are. They're coming off their best game of the season against Seattle. They scored in every quarter. Previous to that, they kind of had some lulls during games. So I think with this offense, they feel like they know who they are. It's a lot of the same guys from last year. They know they can score. They feel like they can be consistent, but you just got to go out there and execute.
Hey, Dan, the defense is kind of what I'd like to focus on right now, because you mentioned Aaron Glenn and stuff. Big departure for the way that he's playing scheme when it comes to the man coverage side of things. Is it just because of the upgrades that they made at corner that's allowed them to do that, or is it something that they felt like they needed to be better at coming into the season?
I think Aaron Glenn has always wanted to play man, and I think that's the type of defense he wants to play. He wants to play man. He wants to pressure up front. He wants to be able to just turn up the heat on guys. But really, this team hasn't had the players in the secondary to be able to do that, and frankly, they weren't getting the heat up front, so it almost was like he had to play a defensive type of defense where you're not letting them get the big plays on you. And even with that, look, they've been really good against the run last year and the start of this year. But against the pass, they've just had issues. So I think they feel like they're in a much better place this year. Brian Branch coming back for this game is significant. But one thing that kind of hurt them, guys, is during the preseason, pretty much everybody in that secondary was out at some point, so they never got much time on task. And you have 4 new guys out there, and the only guy that isn't new, one of them that isn't new is Branch, who's playing a new position. Kirby Joseph's the only guy playing the same spot he was last year. So they just need some time on task. But to your question, he wants to play man. He wants to get pressure up front. But those two things have to go hand in hand. And if they don't, you're going to have some problems.
Voice of the Lions, Dan Miller, with us here on The Fan. How do they approach the CD Lamb factor today? Lamb had a huge game last year, and all the man coverage. Do they double him up? Do they have a corner that they want to travel with him? What do you think from that standpoint?
My guess is Carlton Davis will get that most of the day, and he'll get some help. But, look, it wasn't just CD, and he obviously had an amazing game against the Lions last time out. If you look at the last half of the season, pretty much every week the top receiver on the other team was having a huge game, whether it was Justin Jefferson or Puka Nacua or whoever it was. The Lions were getting torched pretty good, and they need to figure that out. And this is a great test for them today with a phenomenal player that they've had problems with in the past. So that was an ongoing issue that they tried to address this offseason. It hasn't totally come together yet. I do think coming out of the bye, that's one of the things that we're watching is, have they shored up that pass defense? Because last time out against Seattle, they obviously had some issues.
Dan, they get Frank Ragnow back this week. That is just, when you watch you guys play, it's just such a difference with him at center. And I just kind of feel like that his ability to cut defenses in half with his second-level blocks, his down blocks, things like that is just super impressive.
You know, guys, for all the things that we can talk about, you can talk about the running backs, you can talk about Aiden Hutchinson, you can talk about the defense or whatever, Amon-Ra. That's the face of the team. The face of the team is this offensive line. That's what they're built around. They've put a lot into that, and when those guys go and run out on that field, they believe they can play with anybody and they believe they can beat anybody. And they do a great job protecting Jared. They do a great job running the ball. Look, we haven't run the ball like this since, the last year and a half. It's been since Barry, since they ran the ball like that. They were for years trying to build an offensive line, and it could never come together. With these guys, it has, and that's really the key. That's what gives them confidence. That's what they build their game plans around. And really, I mean, look, I think we can look at this and say beat up defense. Lions' strength is running the ball. I would anticipate, and usually when we do that, we get the exact opposite, but I would anticipate you're going to see a heavy dose of the run game today and then play action off that.
Voice of the Lions, Dan Miller, with us here on The Fan, and the guy pulling all the strings offensively, offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He's just turning down head coaching gigs. He's like, nah, I'm good here. I like what we got going on with Dan Campbell and company. Is this finally going to be the offseason that have you gotten any good reason as to why he had it? Because most of the time these guys are jumping at opportunities to be a head coach.
Yeah, and I don't want to, if you say it wasn't the right situation for him, then that casts something negative about a team. But I will say this, I just think he wants to go to the right situation. I mean, you look at some of these coaches, I mean, in Dan Campbell's class, it's him and Sirianni now. That's it, with Saleh getting fired. I mean, so if you don't go to the right place with the right pieces and the right plan and the right support, you're not going to be there very long. And I think he believes he has an outstanding situation here in Detroit where, he has that offense is his baby and Dan Campbell trusts him. People talk about, they go for fourth down all the time. Well, that's because he trusts the offense and he trusts Ben Johnson. So the best thing I can tell you is I think he wants to make sure he's going to the right spot where he feels comfortable and where he feels like he's going to be able to win. And if he doesn't find that, I think he's very comfortable with what he and his family have in Detroit, and that's really played out over the last two off seasons.
It's hard to find many issues or weaknesses with this Lions offense. But looking at some of the red zone stuff, I know for the Cowboys, they've struggled in the red zone to this point in the season. Has that been a talking point offensively for the Lions in any way?
It was after the Tampa game that they lost because they were 1 for 7 in the red zone that game and lost a one-score game. And if they could have figured a couple of things out there, you probably win that game. You're probably coming in here 4-0. But I will say since then they're 7 for 7. So they feel like they've figured some things out. I think the one thing early that they struggled with a little bit was the run game in the red zone, where they weren't getting much on first down or negative plays on first down. All of a sudden you're behind the down sticks or you're looking at 2nd and 10, which when you're compressed down there can make it kind of difficult. So I think they feel better about where it is right now. And I think that, coming off the bye, they took a look at it again, but I just feel like, it's trending in the right direction, but certainly after that Tampa game. And let me say this, never in Ben Johnson's tenure as offensive coordinator had they been in the red zone 7 times in a game. So that tells you, man, you're moving the ball really well. You just couldn't finish your drives, and that cost him.
Hey, Dan, what is it just the fact that this team is so good throwing the ball underneath or the in-breaking routes, those crossing routes? Because the metrics say you don't throw the ball deep at all. Is it a philosophy thing, or is it just that he's so accurate with the play action stuff of hitting those the drags and the in routes and things like that?
I think probably Jared would tell you there's a couple he would like to maybe take that he hasn't taken, and the one thing that he told us in camp was the one place that he really wanted to improve was on the deep ball. And he's had a couple to JMO this year, and then they had one that was kind of a crossing route that went for 70. But look, I think the one thing that Jared has done a good job of this year is just being patient and taking whatever the defense gives him. And regardless of who that is, when you start talking about Amon-Ra and JMO and Sam Laporta and Gibbs and Montgomery and all the guys that they've got to work with on offense, you just have to be patient. And sometimes that hasn't presented the shot downfield. I think that'll come. I think JMO is certainly a guy that is capable of taking the top off of defense. But I just think they feel very comfortable that whatever is called for in a drive, if it has to be 10 plays, 12 plays, whatever it is, they'll feel like they can move the ball down the field, because it's very difficult for a defense to be able to handle everything that this offense throws at them, which is why they've been effective the last 2 years.
Voice of the Lions, Dan Miller, with us here on The Fan. That Aiden Hutchinson there on the edge is starting to really blossom into an NFL superstar here. Outside of Hutchinson, does anybody provide much in the way of pass rush here? And how much blitzing will Aaron Glenn try and do today?
Yeah, he'll definitely throw some at you. And watch Brian Branch, watch Kirby Joseph. Branch in particular is a guy that they move around that defense. He's liable to be anywhere on the field, and he's a really, really talented player who just got moved to safety, but they love his ball skills, his anticipation, everything that he can do, and he'll come up and hit anybody anywhere. But, I think this, in terms of that defensive line, they lost Marcus Davenport, and look, that's been an ongoing problem with Davenport in his career, but this was a coaching staff that knew it from New Orleans. They felt like he was a great fit, and for the 2 games he played, he was exactly what the doctor ordered opposite Hutchinson, but obviously he's now hurt, out for the season, so, they got to find it somewhere else. The guy to watch that's really kind of been the talk of training camp and early in the season is Levi Onwuzurike, who for 3 years really didn't do anything because of injuries, lack of performance, whatever it was, mostly injuries. He is finally healthy, and he has been a player that has been causing problems since the first day of training camp. And he's provided some of that for them. They brought up Isaac Upu, who I think is going to get some snaps this week. He had a sack in each of the preseason games that they played. And I assume since they elevated him yesterday, he's going to get some snaps out there. I think DJ Reader is just kind of rounding into form. He had an injury, didn't take part in much of training camp, and has just been playing now for a couple weeks. I think as he gets back, he and Aleem McNeil can provide a push up the middle. But I would watch Onwuzurike if you're looking for that compliment to Aiden Hutchinson, who, as you said, is just, taking that next step towards being elite this season.
No doubt about it. Dan Miller, really, really appreciate the time, man. It's a treat for us. We'd love to chat with you more, but I know you got to get over to that press box and get some of that delicious food in there, so we'll let you boogie.
I'm going for seconds. I appreciate you guys. Always fun. Thank you.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Dan Miller, voice of the Lions, right here on your official pregame show of America's team. Under 90 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Let's pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on your home of the Cowboys, 105.3 The Fan.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Colo, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
All right, we will get to Christy Scales, get the scoop from her coming up here in just a few minutes. Something that was interesting from Dan there, voice of the Lions, brought us CeeDee Lamb and his opportunities today. You mentioned Carlton Davis. He's a veteran dude, but he hasn't been at the height of his powers this season. If Carlton Davis is going to be the one tasked with having to handle CeeDee Lamb, he mentioned the receivers that have really gone off. I mean, look at it. Cooper Kupp, 14 catches, $110 and a touchdown. Chris Godwin, 7 catches, 117 and a touchdown. Marvin Harrison Jr., 5 catches, 64 yards, touchdown. And then DK Metcalf, 7 catches, 104 yards. They've given it up to wide receiver ones.
They have, and if you look at Davis, I mean, he was a guy they traded for from the Buccaneers, and the Cowboys have actually had some success. If you remember the Monday night game several years ago, opening game, actually, I don't know if it's a Monday night game, opening game of the season, when Dak Prescott, Dallas had no running game, and they lit Carlton Davis up then as well. So quarterbacks have had, as you mentioned, a good rating against him. Targets have been high, receptions have been high. They're going to have to give him a little help. But this is just my hope that they find a way to move Lamb around in this game.
Yes.
Don't make him a stationary player where they could play the safety inside and the corner on the outside and bracket him. Find a way to move him around and make them have to chase that.
I'll tell you what, another dimension to the offense that would be nice today, and I know we don't get to see it all that much. We've lamented it for the last few years post-injury, but Dak Prescott with his legs, if you're going to be a defense that's just going to play man coverage all day long, Dak should find a couple of lanes. I mean, my goodness, Baker Mayfield had 34 yards on the ground against him. Kyler had 45. Geno Smith had 38 yards on the ground against him. Can you go steal 3 or 4 first downs with your legs today, Dak? I think that would go a long way as well.
It's going to have to happen. And you mentioned it. It's, if they're going to play a lot of that man coverage, it's going to be, and especially if they're bracketing guys, those secondary guys are going to be occupied. And if you find a way, we'll see what happens with these linebackers. It's a good group of linebackers. The physicality that they play with is pretty impressive. But if Dak could, they get that opportunity, there's a drop, everybody's in coverage, now take off running, you're right, you could steal 2 or 3 first downs, and you're going to have to keep some drives going in this game, and you're going to have to find a way to finish some drives in this game. I think that empty drives will only lead to more problems for you, going out throughout this game. And every opportunity you can get to get points, you've got to find a way to do that. And Dak, his ability to run the football, even down in the red zone, inside the 5, the quarterback draws or some read option stuff, maybe take advantage of that.
It's such a weapon that way. If Dak can strike a little fear into him with his
He's
legs.
got to be willing to run, though.
He does. He's got to be willing to do it. I love what you say about the red zone there. When you start trying to figure out ways to get better in the red zone, we know the Cowboys desperately need to do that. Part of that is being able to have 10 guys blocking for your quarterback, and going to Dak on the ground a little bit, I think would be really, really huge. And we discussed it earlier, but I'll hammer that point home again. You talk about wanting to see CeeDee Lamb on the move today. Don't make him just a stationary dude. We know how impressive he is. And last year, it's weird that we're even talking about it, because last year they did such a great job of it. Where they're moving CeeDee Lamb around all over the place. He's in the slot. He's playing the stud, outside X receiver, and he was productive in all of those areas, getting him on the move, using some of that motion stuff. And then, again, I think you got to go away from some of this spread attack where you're 21st in success rate on these dropbacks. No one drops back more in a spread formation than the Cowboys do. That according to Next Gen Stats, but they're only 21st in success rate on those plays. When you have a man defense like this, you've got to condense things a little bit more, get guys on the move, and force the DBs to run through traffic a little bit. Get those rub routes going. So would love to see more of that. Hopefully Tolbert and Turpin are having bounce-back games. We have survivor picks in the G-Bag Nation, as we do each and every week. And right now, my goodness, we're all trying to figure out if we're going to have another bet payoff on a Football Friday in the G-Bag Nation. I have the Eagles. Actually, me and Dawson and Wolchuk all have the Eagles 13-10 right now. Tough sledding at home versus the Browns. So, and what was your team? You have the Falcons today?
The Falcons. Same time that the Cowboys are playing, we get the Falcons.
Okay, Falcons versus the Panthers. But, man, the Ravens up 20-13 right now on the Commanders. That's a huge game. Texans 24-7 on the Patriots. Drake May's first start. I saw he had a nice touchdown pass, but other than that, doesn't seem to have done too much. How about Spencer Rattler and the Saints? 27-24. Baker's thrown all the first half interceptions. We'll see if he can get it together. The Bears dominated the Jags earlier. And then the Packers up 24-13 on the Cardinals. So there's a little around the NFL scoreboard for you on a football Sunday. It's Jerry's birthday. It's Will McClay's birthday. And the Cowboys are looking to get their first home victory of the season. 877-881-1053. And let's go ahead and get the scoop. Christy Scales, best in the business, Cowboys sideline reporter. She joins us next live from AT&T Stadium here on The Fan.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman of Meat Church here. With football season kicking off, I'm already gearing up to bring the smoker back to AT&T Stadium for some epic tailgates.
in-house smoked brisket, of course. You got the jalapeno pepper jack sausage, pico de gallo, and house-made candied jalapenos Bradas. You know how much love I have for that pizza burger. This has to be the new 1 seed for best item here at AT&T Stadium. The lineman burrito. Do yourself a favor and get that courtesy of Legends Hospitality today. It'll probably feed what? At least 2 people, if not between 2 and 6 people can consume this thing. It felt like it was a 15-pound dumbbell when I picked it up.
I don't know. It like the foil that wraps it up is kind of like it would be a tarp on a Major League Baseball field. It's that big. You know, I mean, you're thinking.
Right. Yeah, you need a ground screw to roll that thing out.
Yeah, this thing, I ate half of it, and I'm not going to eat till midnight tonight.
Well,
I swear.
You're speaking for yourself on that one. I'm about to go punch that press box.
It is amazing how good that is.
All right.
The lineman burrito, right?
The lineman burrito.
Get you one, folks.
That's
really
right.
Good.
That's right. All right. Under an hour and 15 minutes to kick off. Let's go inside of AT&T Stadium and welcome in the best in the business, Christy Scales. She's about to give us the scoop. Christy, happy game day. It's a birthday festivity afternoon with Jerry Jones and Will McClay. What do we need to know from an inactive standpoint?
Well, we knew that Micah Parsons and Eric Kendricks were unavailable due to injury, but Kalen Carson still some issues with that shoulder, so he is inactive again today. So Amani Oruwariye will get another start today. He was elevated from the practice squad yesterday, so it's his third and final time to be elevated from the practice squad. And then Deuce Vaughn is inactive once again today, along with the usual suspects, Matt Wuletsko, tight end John Stevens, and Trey Lance is your third quarterback. Now, what's interesting is that Tyler Guyton, your rookie first-round draft pick, starting left tackle, is active today but won't start. It's going to be Tyler Smith, just as he did last week when Guyton went out early in the second quarter or when his knee got banged up. Tyler Smith was going to move over from left guard to left tackle. TJ Bass will move into Tyler Smith's spot at left guard and get the start. So it ended up last week, I mentioned the Guyton injury. When Tyler Smith slid over from guard to tackle, he actually played 53 of the 76 snaps there at left tackle. So again, we'll see a lot of Tyler Smith. Of course, his rookie season, he had done guard throughout training camp, and that's when Tyron Smith had the hamstring injury, and Tyler Smith all of a sudden was the starting left tackle. Last week was the first time he had played left tackle since filling in for Tyron Smith during Tyler's rookie year, but he did well, and he's going to get the job again today at left tackle.
I'll tell you what, Christy, they did a great job of making us feel like that Guyton was going to be back in there at left tackle. So a little bit of surprise to you?
Gamesmanship.
Well, I don't know that it's so much gamesmanship as in terms of keeping it quiet. I think you're right about that, Eric.
Yeah.
But they just need to have him work back into form. So have him watch from the sideline. He is active, so if there's any kind of injury situation, he can go in there. But unless there's some kind of injury situation, he's going to be watching from the sideline.
Incredible. Okay, Christy Scales with us breaking all the news as she always does. Now, without Kendricks, obviously a huge talking point with this game. That's a nightmare injury to suffer, especially against an offense like this with Detroit. Who fills into that Eric Kendricks role today, and who's got the green dot as the quarterback of the defense?
So Damone Clark is going to start at middle linebacker and wear the green dot. Nick Vigil, who has been a backup middle linebacker and has had a green dot through the first few weeks of the season, he was on the injury list this week, and thankfully he is active and available. He's going to be the backup, but he had that foot injury during the week and wasn't able to practice on Wednesday or Thursday. But Vigil will be a backup linebacker, and he's another green dot. And then your third green dot, if something were to happen to Clark and Vigil, if they weren't on the field, then the rookie Maris Leofau, this will be his first time to have a green dot helmet. So if necessary, he'll switch helmets, put on that green dot, and do the defensive play calls if both Clark and Vigil are out of the game.
Christy, you look at this Cowboys team right now. We're 5 weeks into the season. This is a tough matchup, but what do they need to improve on here to have a chance today?
I think it's the takeaways. The Cowboys have only 5 takeaways, and don't just look at how many times they've taken the ball away. They're actually at a -1 turnover differential, so they've given the ball away 6 times. They have only 5 takeaways in 5 games. But what happens after the turnovers? What Dallas had been great as the previous few years is taking those getting the takeaways and then cashing in with points. With the 5 takeaways this year, the Cowboys have managed only 3 points through 5 games. This time last year, Deron Bland had 14 points by himself, right? With 2 interceptions returned for touchdown. But last year, going into Game 6, the Cowboys had 37 points off of takeaways. And I know that it's not the same team year to year, but it's not only that the takeaways are down, but cashing them in, making them count for something, that's down too. So it goes to what the coaches always talk about, complementary football, right?
Yeah.
Helping set up your offense by getting a takeaway, by giving them at least good field position. And that's what has not taken place these first 5 weeks, and that's why the coaches keep lamenting the complementary football. And I think in a game like this where Detroit, so many playmakers on offense, you're expecting them to put up some points on the scoreboard today. You need to get off to a fast start. You're going to have to keep pace, and I think you're going to have to steal possessions from this Lions team. And you do that a couple ways. You do it obviously by taking the ball away if you can, which they haven't done a good job of the first 5 games. But heck, maybe even extending your own possessions, right? I mean, fake punt, something, do something. Yeah. You know that Detroit is going to have some trick plays up their sleeve because that's who they are and how they do things. And taking on, we know that Dan Campbell is not averse to going for things. So there'll be some tricks up Detroit's sleeve, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys have some up their sleeves today because I just think you're going to have to steal possessions from this team.
Agreed. Yeah, you're going to have to pull out all the stops, and the margin for error is very, very small today. You mentioned complementary football. That's a coaching buzzword. Another one is the all 3 phases. How could special teams play a role today, Christy?
Well, it's going to be huge. It always is when you have fairly evenly matched teams and talk about field position and things like that. But I don't know if you guys caught the thing that the Cowboys did on kickoff returns last week that was interesting. Now, what happened in Pittsburgh, the ball was going out of the back of the end zone. We didn't really get a chance to see cool returns. But Cavante Turpin was back deep by himself, in between the hashes, covering both sides of the field. You didn't have Cavante taking one side of the field and Wanye Thomas on the other. So by having just one returner back there, which is what they had last week, you have an extra player up front that can help with the blocking. So that's what Wanye was doing last week. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that again today. Now, Detroit, they've been ones where they've been kicking it out of the back. So I'm not saying that, we're going to see a bunch of kickoff returns today. But if we do, it's going to be interesting because we saw the formation, we saw the personnel grouping last week. We didn't really get to see the execution of it. But don't be surprised if you see Turpin back there by himself on kickoff returns because that's different. That's different from the first 4 games.
Yeah, that is different. Hey, Christy, Cowboys wearing blue jerseys today. Can you give me some insight on that?
Well, I think it's that when Detroit wears white, this is just me, this is my own personal opinion, but it's obviously very hard for the referee to identify the numbers for tackle eligible. So maybe that's part of it because Detroit was wearing white last year and the Cowboys blue in the December 30th game that the Cowboys won. So yeah, it's unusual to see the Cowboys wearing blue at home early in the season like we are now, but it's because of the good luck that they had last year defeating Detroit wearing these color combinations for both teams.
Did you get a chance to go over and say hello to Dan Campbell yet?
Haven't had a chance to talk to Dan yet. He was out there earlier, but he had some people talking to him, so I'm hoping to catch him before the game. He is one of our all-time favorite people, and when he's shouting out Brad Sham and Cowboys radio during his press conferences in Detroit in the week leading to the game, you got to love it. So, and also a fellow Texas Aggie, so he and Dat Wynn were together there late in the 1990s when our fine Aggie teams down there. So Dan will always be one of my favorites, whether he's in Cowboy blue or Detroit Honolulu blue or Aggie maroon.
He is. He's absolutely the man. We do love us some Dan Campbell. And it's going to be a tall order today. There's no question about it. Broadus was suggesting earlier in the week opening up the roof on this bad boy, putting some heat in this building and trying putting the pressure on Jared Goff and company. But that's obviously not going to be the case. And I guess with the blue jerseys, it makes even more sense that they wouldn't want to have the sun peering into the roof there, huh?
I think that's part of it, and it's still pretty hot, right? So, for the people that are sitting in the lower level. I like your idea, but, Jerry wants to be comfortable on his birthday, right? So, no. I know, it's at least open the doors, right? But no, it's we're totally enclosed today.
Okay, and what do we see? We're seeing a lot of Honolulu blue, it seems, here in the Miller Lite West Plaza. There's plenty of Lions fans to speak of.
Yes, I would say that they are amassed in the lower level behind the visiting bench, particularly in the curve of the corners of the end zone. So, yes, another reason for the Cowboys to get off to a fast start today and keep those guys quiet.
Christy, are we going to take the ball or we're going to play defense first? We get that flip of that corner.
That's very interesting. Now, what do you guys think? Would you
give me the ball.
Take it first?
Give me the ball.
Yeah, I'm the same. Last week it was going to be determined by the weather, right?
Right.
2 weeks ago they wanted the ball to start it off, right? And I would do that too, because I don't think you can fall behind against this team and play catch-up the way that you had to play catch-up in the two previous home losses against New Orleans and Baltimore, where it got out of hand so quickly. And the thing is, the Cowboys' defense has been terrible on the defensive opening possessions. They have allowed scores on the opponent's opening drives in all 5 games this year. 2 touchdowns and 3 field goals, whereas the Cowboys offense, if they get it first, they need to do something with it, because in 5 games, their opening drives, they have only 2 field goals. So what's happening is, whether the Cowboys get it first or not, the other team is scoring, and you're playing catch-up, and you just can't have it. And it's the same way in the second halves of games. The defense has allowed 3 touchdowns and 1 field goal in 5 games in the opponent's opening possession of the second half. So think of it this way. You have 5 games. You have the opening possession of each half. So 10 drives for your opponent, right? And you have allowed scores on 9 of them.
Jeez.
So that you just can't do that, and especially with this offense, some of the struggles they were having, particularly early, you cannot fall behind, especially against a team like Detroit, where you're expecting, with all of their weapons, that they're going to put some points up.
Amen to that, Christy. All right, you're the best. We appreciate all the information, as always, and we look forward to catching up with you again next hour.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, Christy Scales, Cowboys Sidelines for the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. She's 100% right. Like, the way these games have started, at least these home games in particular, it's 27-7 at half in the playoffs versus Green Bay. It's 35-16 week 2 versus the Saints here at AT&T Stadium. And then you had the Ravens here week 3. It's 21-6 at halftime. Gotta find a way to start the game faster.
I love what you're saying there. I love what she's saying. I think this is why you have Christy Scales on your pregame show. She immediately told you who the starting left tackle was in this game. And that was something we really had not talked about that all week. We talked about, could it be your best 5? How healthy is Guyton? I think that Guyton's probably still a little nicked up, but it didn't sound like anything that would keep him from missing this game. But you're in a situation now where all of a sudden, this is your best 5. Now you focus on, okay, with Tyler Smith, you feel a little bit better if Hutchinson flips over to that other side. Now you can think about helping Steele when he's over there.
No question. Yeah, that's huge news. We'll continue to break it down here. 60 minutes to kick off. Still to come. We'll go into the owner's box on Jerry's birthday. We'll hear from head coach Mike McCarthy, as well as more analysis from the Super Bowl champion Brian Broadus. All next right here on 105.3 The Fan, your home of the Cowboys.
The Medal of Honor is our country's highest military award for valor in combat. More than 40 million individuals have served in the armed forces since the Civil War. Fewer than 4,000 have received the Medal of Honor. The National Medal of Honor Museum will be a place to preserve these legacies and inspire America. It's being built right next door to the Dallas Cowboys in Texas. Help us honor our country's greatest heroes. Learn more and get involved at mohmuseum.org.
Celebrate the best of the autumn season with Fall Fest, presented by Wrangler at the Star in Frisco. Join us on Saturday, October 19th for a full day of fall fun for the entire family. Enjoy live country music.
the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. Also brought to you by Bell Nunnally, behind every great company. Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Jack Link's, feed your wild side. Volleman's Dairy, the official milk of the Dallas Cowboys. And by DallasCowboys.com. Keep track of the boys with daily podcasts and up-to-the-minute blogging at DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here's Eric Chiafalo and Brian Broaddus.
It's a Week 6 football party here on the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Great to have you in the official pregame show of America's team, the Lions in town here at AT&T Stadium. The Cowboys looking for their first home win of the season, and it'd be a nice birthday gift to Jerry Jones and Will McClay today. Brian Broaddus, you, sir, a Super Bowl champion. Let's dive into the preview here, brought to you by Sleep Number, the official sleep and wellness partner of the Dallas Cowboys. Broaddus, this Lions team is pretty legit, off a bye. They're healthy. Cowboys a MASH unit. What's the path to victory today?
Yeah, the path of victory is going to be offensively. And it's just pretty simple to say. Mike McCarthy is going to have to be outstanding as a play caller today, and Dak Prescott's going to have to be outstanding as your quarterback. You're going to have to lean on those two today to make this happen. The situation with your defense, you're just down too many men, and you'll get guys that'll play hard. Even full strength, this Detroit Lion offense is hard to deal with. And, you're down a lot of guys. We'll see what happens on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully they'll get a stop or two. Maybe you'll get a turnover or two to kind of give your offense the ball back. But the Dallas offense is going to have to go win this football game for you today.
Probably going to need, a minimum 30 points?
I felt like that was going to be the case. 4 touchdowns was probably what's going to have to happen here. It's just the every time you think it's going to be a high-scoring game, it turns the opposite way. But just the problems that the Cowboys have defensively, with the running game, the run defense looks better. But you're down some of those guys that have helped you have a better run defense. When you look at Kendricks, you look at Nealon, there's guys that have helped you play better run defense. And they're on the sideline with us today watching this football game. And that's the unfortunate thing about this game today is you need all hands on deck to play this Lions offense. But the great thing about it is, you have all your offensive players here, and you're going to make some adjustments with your line. We saw what happened last week when Guyton went out with injury. What they do, they shuffled Tyler Smith to the outside. They moved, they got Bass inside at guard. And away they went, able to move the football. A couple of 15-play drives, touchdown results. They're going to need some of that today.
Yeah, we just found out, Christy Scales breaking the news to us a few moments ago that Tyler Guyton is active. He's healthy enough to play, but he will not be getting the start. Tyler Smith will start at left tackle, TJ Bass at left guard, and then you'll have Cooper Beebe at center, Zach Martin at right guard, and, of course, Terrence Steele at right tackle. And that's how most of the game went last week in Pittsburgh. Do you think that's the starting five that gives them the best chance to win today?
It allows you to feel good about what's happening at left tackle right now. If the Lions' plan was to move Aiden Hutchinson over and have him rush against Guyton, well, that might make him a little bit more one-dimensional. That might keep him over on the Dallas's right side of their offense, and Dallas could have, with that thought, could have game planned some things to attack him and handle him over off their right side.
All right, we're just getting started live here from AT&T Stadium. The Miller Lite West Plaza will go into the owner's box with the birthday boy Jerry Jones coming up here in just a bit. But coming up next, it's time for the Coach's Corner. Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, standing by with your head coach Mike McCarthy. That's coming up next. You're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great.
and be completed in 12 to 24 months. UNT, a proud partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, we'll go into the owner's box here at AT&T Stadium with the birthday boy, Jerry Jones, coming up here in just a few minutes, but we're under 45 minutes to kick off. Let's go into AT&T Stadium for today's Coach's Corner. It's Brad Sham, voice of the Cowboys, standing by with Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy.
Fellas, thanks very much. The Cowboys finally back at home against the Detroit Lions today. We talked about the road never cause a building doesn't cause a loss. You haven't won one at home. Does the same thing apply now? But it feels different, doesn't it, when you haven't won at home?
Definitely. I mean, home's been great to us. We obviously enjoy so much playing in front of our fans. Definitely the routine that we're on. But yes, you have to take care of business at home. So we made a huge emphasis in the off season. Looked into doing some things a little differently on the road. Hopefully they're part of what's paying off. So we got a great road game start. It's time to pick up and get back to our winning ways here at home.
I know you're thinking only about today's game, but the back of your mind and everybody else's mind, the bye is coming up, and it seems at a perfect time this year. Anything about constructing the 46-man roster today or putting the plan together that included, okay, I know I've got another week. If somebody needs it, let me give them some time and get them back the week after?
We definitely had some guys who were close, but, at the end of the day, it comes down to the medical staff, the player, can they go or not go? So, but we did not use that premise. It was as part of the equation. So I can't really recall ever saying, okay, let's save them for post-bye. Maybe if it was later or different circumstances, but I think just the way this lines up, especially with the number of changes we've had in the lineup, I think it's important to put your best 49 out there and go get this win.
And another one you're going to have today because of injury is Eric Kendricks. He's been critical for you. Nick Vigil's active, so I presume he's going to get to play in there.
Well, Nick and Damone will share will be that'll be our lineup for the Green Dot. So those two guys work there all week, and they'll do a great job.
And Vigil is the guy Cowboy fans don't know very much about, other than the fact that he's worked with Paul Gunther, and he's a really good special teams player. What do you like about him?
Yeah, definitely. Very smart, instinctive, very aware player. You definitely see that on special teams. He's been in this system for a number of years, so he's a lot like Eric in the fact that, he knows it inside and out. He's an excellent communicator. But also, I do want to talk about Damone. Damone Clark has done an outstanding job really backing up all the positions and has done a really good job working the Green Dot this week.
He must have had a good week of practice because he's only had 5 snaps from scrimmage in the last 2 weeks combined. Damone.
You're talking about on defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's been playing primarily on special teams. Right. So he's like I said, he's been playing multiple positions as a backup, and also I think the biggest thing absorbing the responsibility of the Green Dot. But has been a really good player for us on special teams.
All right, here's a really simplistic question: the number of injuries you have on defense, a lot of people are going to jump to the conclusion that you really have to make up that slack on offense. You have to score more than you have. Is that overly simplistic or accurate today?
I just think the fact that we line up and want to score all the time anyways, regardless of who we play. I think it's just like anything each week. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. This team's playing very well right now based off of the video they've put together. They're healthy. They're coming off a bye week. So, we need to play our game. We need to play to our plan, play to our players most importantly, and just, do the things that equate to winning, and that's taking the ball away, taking care of the football, extending drives on offense, putting points on the board, winning the time possession. So make sure that our defense isn't out there for long periods of time. So that's always been our formula the last 2 years, and we need to play to that like we did in Pittsburgh.
All right, good luck today.
All right, Brad, thank you.
All right, fellas, back to you.
Thank you, Brad Sham. That'll do it for today's Coach's Corner here on your pregame show. We're live in the Miller Lite West Plaza of AT&T Stadium. What do you think about this, Broadus? We just got a question on Twitter from Tarps Cards, and he's looking into the way they're doing the offensive line today. Tyler Guyton not starting at left tackle, though he is active, but it'll be Tyler Smith starting at left tackle and TJ Bass starting at left guard. And so that's the way the offensive line looked for a majority of the game in Pittsburgh the other night. But you have Tarps Cards asking us, hey, with this being Mike McCarthy in a situation where this is his final year of his contract. He needs every single win possible. It's less about the big picture thinking of the Tyler Guyton development and more so about, hey, this is the offensive line that gives us the best chance to win right here today.
Yeah, I think it's about trying to find a way to win a game today. And I think it's even more important with the situation that's on what's happening on defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, they have got to find a way to score points today. They've got to find a way to make some things happen up front. They can't be 3 and out. That's a recipe for disaster right there. So your best 5, yeah, this very well be good. You know, you saw the ability how they moved the football late in that game against the Steelers with this group.
Right.
I think this is all about trying to compensate for the problems that they have on the defense right now.
Gotcha.
They just cannot afford to go 3 and out, and Guyton and stuff maybe struggling a little bit in this football game. And like I said, it kind of makes them a little bit more of like, okay, we can handle Hutchinson on this side. You know, if they move him over to Steele's side, if we think, yeah, we can handle that. If they kick him over to Smith's side, that might be a little bit of wasting some reps, some snaps for them. So I think this is more about they know they have to put some points up today with how compromised their defense is.
All right, we're just about 38 minutes to kick off. Cowboys and Lions here at AT&T Stadium. It's Jerry's birthday. Let's hear from the man himself. We go into the owner's box. Coming up next, Dallas Cowboys football. We'll continue in a moment.
Buffalo Wild Wings is kicking off football season.
DallasCowboys.com and on the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Here's Eric Giafalo and Brian Broaddus.
All right, it's time to go into the owner's box right here on the official pregame show of America's team. Just over 30 minutes to kick off. It's Jerry's birthday, and he's standing by with Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales. Christy, take it away.
Well, we are with the birthday boy. Happy birthday, Jerry. And for your birthday present, your game plan comes true today, and the Cowboys get the win. So what is that game plan?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm reminded, I just saw Berline and Steve Berline, and I was reminded when we played Washington, they were undefeated. We hadn't won a game our very first year. And we went up there, and we just were determined not to turn the ball over. Matter of fact, if it were even close, you threw it out of bounds. And I'm not exaggerating. We kicked the ball. They made a couple of mistakes. We're the only team to beat them all year. They won the Super Bowl, and, of course, that was our big win. So we've got a game like this. Now, what you got to remember is we're playing some young guys. Now, if you've just been in that locker room, you can't imagine how excited those young guys are. They know this is their opportunity. It'd be like Dak Prescott a few years ago when Romo got hurt. Well, he didn't know that was coming. Well, the bottom line, these guys do. They know it's their chance to basically even more establish a career in the NFL. So it's a big opportunity day for a lot of guys in our locker room.
Yeah, one of them is Damone Clark, who's going to be starting at middle linebacker in place of Eric Kendricks. And Damone's number of reps had gone down the previous few weeks, but he's been a solid guy for you. What are you expecting from Damone today with this opportunity?
Well, of course, it's the old adage, you just don't know what's around the corner. And Damone's going to and should get a lot of reps today. We've got real confidence in Damone. We know what he's physically capable of doing. His learning of our defense was a big factor in him not playing as much these last few games. But, boy, he's the kind of guy that we're looking for to make big plays.
And at defensive end, we mentioned Chauncey Golston last week, and Chauncey is actually the defensive captain today. And you have been so hard hit with injuries at defensive end. Is it just I know they have to win their straight up battles man against man, but with Mike Zimmer, how creative can you be against a Detroit Lions team with their offense that can just pick you apart?
Well, first of all, Chauncey knows that he's got to stay in his lane. He's got to do his assignment. And a lot of times that kind of tunnel vision can be really good rather than freelancing. Chauncey played a really fine game last week in a game that was really one we maybe shouldn't have won because of the turnovers. On the other hand, a guy like Chauncey had to step up. He needs to step up today. But he's playing beside some guys out there that Chauncey now is the seasoned veteran. He's the one that's gone in the valley, laid the plane over on the side, dropped it out, and got out of there about 10 times, not get shot down. So the other guys better be listening to every word he's saying because this is going to be some of their first experience.
Tell us about Tyler Smith, who's going to move out from left guard to left tackle and get the start today in place of Guyton. How well did he play? He ended up having 53 snaps last week when he moved from guard to tackle.
He's an outstanding offensive lineman, unique because of those feet, and yet he's got all that power. And now he's got this experience, so we're lucky to have him. The right move was to move him out there, and we can count on our younger guys there in the middle. But that gives you an idea of what we're up against. They've got really a notable defensive front, and so that was a smart move. That's the protection of Prescott, which we need to get the ball off today.
Last question for you, Jerry. I would like for you to share your favorite Dan Campbell story, the Lions head coach, the time that he was Cowboys tight end. I know he was one of your favorite guys. Do you see that team taking on the personality of the head coach?
Well, I know this. If they do, they're dangerous. When you see guys like that come along, I asked our tight end here the other day, we were walking through the locker room, I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Dangerous." That reminds me of this coach.
Appreciate it, Jerry. Thanks so much, and happy birthday. That's the view from the owner's box as we continue counting down to kickoff. Let's rejoin Brian and Eric.
Thank you, Christy. Today's Owner's Box is brought to you by Yeti, the official cooler of the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Now, before we get Broadus' Zebra Report, let's go ahead and pause 10 seconds to allow stations to identify themselves along the Dallas Cowboys radio network.
Your turn it on, leave it on. Home of America's team is 105.3 The Fan.
Hello, baby.
KRLD-FM and HD1, Dallas-Fort Worth.
An Odyssey sports station.
All right, we get to know the enemy, brought to you by Aero Exterminators, the official pest control provider of the Dallas Cowboys, and we hope today the enemy is not the Zebra Crew. John Hussey and company?
John Hussey and company today for your Cowboys. This will be John Hussey's fifth game this season, though. Cowboys last 6 with John Hussey as the official. They're 3-3 with him and his crew calling the game. Penalties need to be worried about. Offensive holding. He seems to call the holdings against the home teams more than the visiting teams. So he's got 9 holding calls, where his crew does 6 against the home, 3 against the aways. Unnecessary roughness penalties. That's something you kind of need to keep an eye on right there. 6 penalties of those as well. 5 against the home team, 1 against the away team. The reason you get some unnecessary roughness penalties with this guy is he doesn't traditionally call penalties, so what happens is he'll lose controls of the games at times.
There
so the play will get a little chippy that way. Defensive holding, 3 for the homes, 1 for the away, gives you 4. Defensive pass interference has been 2. Here's the ones you need to kind of be concerned about because they're penalties that aren't normally called. Taunting is a penalty that his crew has made a call this year. You don't see that very often with officials. Leverage is another one. That's a special teams one when you jump up on the back of one of your teammates to try and get some elevation to maybe block a kick. And then he's only called 1 roughing the passer penalty in 4 games. So you got to be careful. This was a game last year, if you remember, Aiden Hutchinson took some runs at Dak Prescott. The last thing you need is Aiden Hutchinson to be doing that with John Hussey not calling any of it.
Beautiful. All right, thank you, Brian Broadus. There's your Zebra Report. Now we are just over 25 minutes to kickoff. Let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. Coming up next, you're listening to the Dallas Cowboys Radio Network.
Miller Lite is brewed with great taste and only great taste.
The Miller Brewing Company would like to issue a correct...
is a division of Healthcare Service Corporation, a mutual legal reserve company.
Under 20 minutes to kick off here at AT&T Stadium. Let's go inside the booth with the voice of the Cowboys, Brad Sham. Brought to you by the WinStar World Casino and Resort, the casino of the Dallas Cowboys. Please game responsibly. Brad, how the heck are you?
Swell. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing wonderful. On a Jerry Jones birthday, do you shoot him a text?
And Will McClay. And Will McClay.
Is this a text happy birthday? Is this a perhaps a FaceTime, Brad?
I actually saw him downstairs earlier and got a chance to wish him happy birthday, and I did text Will McClay happy birthday.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, I noticed earlier this week when the announcement came about the uniform combinations, you didn't seem too happy about the blue jerseys that the Cowboys are wearing today, Brad.
Well, I'm never happy about the blue jerseys at home especially, Eric, but considering that the Lions in their last game, they're coming off a bye, but in their last game they wore black jerseys with dark blue numbers. I much prefer the Cowboys wearing blue, so the Lions are wearing white with blue numbers, and I can see it.
There you go. Let's make it easier on my guy, Brad. That'd be wonderful. Is there any tough pronunciations on the Lions side of things today?
No, I don't think so. Nothing that I can't handle.
Wonderful. All right, and are we punting at all today, Brad? Like, is there any scenario in which punting is the right decision for the Cowboys today?
Well, I mean, fourth down and 15 from your own 25.
There you go.
They're going to have to score today, Eric. They're going to have to score a lot of points because I think with the play. Hey, Brian, when you played at LSU, did you ever take the field before a game and look up and say, they've got better players than we do?
Yeah, the University of Miami with Michael Irvin. That looked like a pretty good team that we were dealing with that day.
So sometimes it's like that, and I just think there's, as Babe likes to say, there's ways to win all these games.
There is.
But the Cowboys they've got let's put it this way, they got a very narrow margin for error today.
No question about it.
Very good right there.
Brad, we appreciate the time as
okay,
always.
Boys, have a good one.
Yes, sir. There he goes, Brad Sham. Now we go onto the turf of AT&T Stadium. We welcome in Christy Scales. Get her keys to the game. Brought to you by Pollock Aurora, proud supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Christy, what's at the front of your mind right now?
Well, looking forward to see Tyler Smith get the start at left tackle. He played 53 of the 76 snaps last week after Tyler Guyton went out early in the second quarter in Pittsburgh with a knee injury. So with Tyler Smith moving from left guard to left tackle, you got TJ Bass moving in at left guard, but a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, who's leading the league with 6.5 sacks, he's going to be at times against Tyler Smith, but it's also going to be a heavy dose for Tyler Smith at right tackle because they move Hutchinson side to side. And the other thing I'm looking for today is takeaways by this Cowboys defense, because I feel like going against a Detroit team that's so good offensively with so many weapons and is well balanced, you're assuming that they're going to put some points up on the board, so steal a couple of possessions from them. How do you do that? With takeaways mainly, or maybe even extending your own drives with fourth down plays or fake punts, whatever. I think this is one of these games where you have to get off to a strong start and not play catch-up as you did in the two previous losses at home this year against Saints and Baltimore. That's obviously a formula for failure. It cannot happen. What's happened so far this year with the Cowboys defense, they're not playing complementary football in terms of getting the takeaways and setting up the offense with short fields. That needs to change. It needs to happen today.
Christy, you're the best. Thanks for the time. Thanks for breaking some news, as always, here on the program, and enjoy the game.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Brian.
There she goes, the Cowboys sideline reporter Christy Scales, and now it's prediction time, Broadus. I got Lions 34, Cowboys 23. This is a lot to ask for a team that is limping into this one in a big way.
Lions 31, Dallas 26.
All right, there it is. That'll do it for today's pregame show. Kickoff around the corner with Brad, Babe, and Christy. Dallas Cowboys football will continue in a moment.
Tom Thumb's new Drive Up and Go service makes grocery shopping easy and convenient for anyone.
25 pounds of ground chuck, 15 bags of hamburger buns, 28 bags of Tostitos, 10 packs of Pepsi, and some barbecue tongs.
You pick the time, you drive up, and go.
With Tom Thumb's Drive Up and Go, anyone has time in their schedule to go grocery shopping. Just a few clicks away, and you can feed your team.
Everyone can be a grocery pro bowler with Tom Thumb's Drive Up and Go. Download the app or try an online order to get started today.
Bell Nunley has been committed to serving their clients for over 4 decades. This Dallas